Hello everybody, videographers, cameramen, vloggers, makers, creators, everybody around the world, owners of one of these things. It's the now almost an antique 4-year-old a7s3, but as you and I and all the camera owners out there know, it's still an absolute work of art.
The very best there is. When you absolutely, positively got to shoot every motherfucker in the room, here we go. A7s3.
And even though we're separated by this entire globe, we are joined because we're all in pursuit of making better things, of making things beautiful and looking deeper, going further, going harder. And this is the tool we can do it with. What I'm going to show you today is how I set up these custom menu buttons and the functions within them. And the reason I'm going to share this with you is because having watched a load of tutorials, you've done that as well. I found myself thinking, this is the intuitive way to go. And I hope you find some use within it. It's built around a very simple philosophy that the things you need the most are in the most accessible places, and it kind of trickles down from there. So focus first, metering comes second, and it goes on. If you're like me and you held back when you did we looked at that kind of firmware dribble out from Sony and kind of spread this kind of lukewarm kind of like buzz around the community, which fizzled out really quickly. You're never going to get your shutter angle. They want you to buy the FX3. They're not going to put it in this camera. They're not going to change it, put the ND filter in there. The variable ND filter, wouldn't we love one of those? But there is actually a way. If you look at my other video here, it's an ND filter hack. Give it a go. It's painless. You don't have to install anything evil on your camera, but I think you'd really like it. So try that out. So for now, let's just dive in. This is how I would like to set up these buttons, and hopefully there's something. Even if you have used this camera for a while, there's something in it for you. So I'm going to kind of break it down to three things. And what I'm not really going to touch on at the moment is the picture profiles. They are a world unto themselves, and there's people out there who have spent months of their lives crafting the most beautiful picture profiles. I've gone the complete other way, and I'll explain that why in a minute. But first things first, right? You may have a lot of friends out there in the world. I hope you do, and I hope you're working on it. But this is going to become one of them. It's maybe even your best friend, this little guy here, because the overall way you're trying to get to is to make this camera not even a camera, almost just like an extension of your hand. You kind of like shoulder, elbow, kind of used to it. Hand. Where did that thing come from? There's no seam. You want it to be almost so natural, so you don't have to think about it. You can just get on with the job in hand, not waiting for someone to call their action, or you call action, or something start happening, and you're there with your face buried in the machine, going, "Whoa! Hang on! I just gotta get my meat." Yeah, great. Okay, once more. Yeah, with feeling. Go. Come on. That's not going to happen because the intuitiveness within which these buttons are arranged will really, really support you and help you in becoming very, very fluid using this machine. So, and it starts with this. You're going to save your settings for these, and you're going to craft them and hone them, and slowly that's going to become your superpower. So let's get started. Well, the first thing I like to do is assign some buttons, and I'm going to assign instantly. I'm going to assign operation customize key setting, so I can all these buttons become customizable. I'm going to add it to the first menu. I'm going to add to that my function menu button, which is just above the wheel at the back, and overall you're just making things available. It's really important. I'm going to stick it in here, which we have done. The other thing that you need to know is this touch operation. See, this is grayed out. Look, if you were working with somebody, a focus puller, I've done it, it's really cool, and they've got the tablet and they are pulling focus and you're just pointing the camera in the right direction, then I would say this is a good time to set this thing to touch focus. Chances are you won't have that. So then you want to stay with the tracking, because one of the beautiful things about this camera is the amount of tracking points and focus points it has on it. 700 and something to like 600 more than its nearest competitor. I don't know how they do that, but they have done it, and I would make full use of it. So stick with your tracking. I can't show it to you here because I've got this HDMI cable which is beaming into this monitor so that you can see what we're doing here. But that's just to know. So that's an important thing to go and do. Okay, so let's get these buttons going. My menu, custom key settings. So the first button is the wheel at the back. For me, that's just got to be an audio volume dial. So I'm going to really quickly zoom in, hone in, and set that to audio record level. Done. Happy. Next one. Oops. Next one is this top right button. Now I like to have my focus really controllable. It's important. If I think something's going to break frame and I'm using tracking or center, I need to be able to just quickly dink off the focus and let that thing not affect it. And the way I do that is this button here, that one there, because it's really so accessible. I just have that to focus top mode toggle. So I will show you where I do that. And here it is, focus, toggle, autofocus, manual focus, and I select that. So I can just turn it on and off. And you can see here, there, manual focus, autofocus. And I'll show you a few clips where that's pretty clear and obvious why that's such a useful thing. The next thing I like to do is the button next to it. And this is also connected to the focus. This I set to find a monitor, touch operation. What that does is it means there, touch operation is off, now it's on again. Now if it's on, then I can track, and that is my point of, that's how I'm focusing. But I might want to break from that and for there not to be any kind of like anything jarring. And so if I hit that button, the camera just reverts back to the focus mode, in which case I normally have it set to kind of focus on the center. Because as long as something's in focus, well, you know, to a greater or lesser degree, at least something's in focus and people are less likely to shout at you and demand a reshoot. Some things can't be reshot. So that is really nice to be able to have control over whether it's just you're going to lock onto something, jump from your tracking to your focus mode back to tracking. You can control it really easily. The next bit of help that you're going to ask for and be given in abundance is this guy here, and I set this to focus assistant, focus magnifier. Punch in up to 4 times, just really quickly punch in. It holds your sharps, it holds it holds your peaking, and that's a very useful thing. So you'll be grateful for that. Next button here. Yeah, I like to sometimes you want to send something to somebody who's asked for it and they're not around. Send a smartphone. So you press that button. I think you have to go through the image edge software. It's not that bad for its purpose, and boom, it sends it to the smartphone. You send it off, and hopefully you get a message back saying how great you are, which you are. And that's the back. Next we're going to go a little deeper. So this raise button, I've gone from focus, now I'm kind of into the world of metering. And I like to set that to auto exposure level toggle, okay? And what that does, it does see this little asterisk at the bottom. I'll show you that a bit later on, but that basically allows me to set my meter, it's the same with on a thing, and then hold that metering. Now, if I'm outside moving around, this clever little camera is very likely going to try and super sharp grab metering on something that I don't want it to, and the shot gets really dark, already bright. Anyway, whatever it does, I didn't ask for it, and I can't use that shot. So we've just set that to AEL toggle, and then more metering. This is now metering mode. Metering mode, good. So I can go into here and I can adjust my metering mode. I normally have it set to spot standard, but you can go spot large. Gives you a nice spot large, kind of like, obviously is less intense, because it's either that it could be really dark there and really bright over here. It's just a bit more of a blend, depending on what you need. You do need to change these things on the fly, so it's good to know where they are really easily. Let's keep going. I like to set this chap to focus area. So wide zone. They are. It depends depending on what you're doing, really. I normally have it set to center fix. For some reason, in my mind, I believe that's the only way I can really see the markers around the eye. Anyway, that's what I have. Keep going. Focus mode. Oops, pardon me. This, I like to have access to my ISO, because your ISO you need to be on top of your ISO. As I'll explain in my next tutorial, I admire them, but I don't subscribe to using those in multiple picture profiles. It just confuses the hell out of me. I'd rather have just a couple locked down. But within those, you still need to know your base dual native ISOs, because you don't want to stray too far from them. You get into grainy areas really quickly. Maybe you need to tattoo these onto the back of your pet's head. Maybe you need to sit around at midnight and something and breathe it in while you're trying to memorize them. Whatever you need to do it, memorize them, have them locked down real good. You can then ascribe them to your picture profiles, to your memory recall, which we will do. But overall, you want to really be on top of those things, especially when you're using this built-in ND filter hack, partly because it locks off your ISO, give you the most chance of having a grainless shot. So that's a very good thing. This down bottom, I like to set that to my white balance. So white balance. Look, I'll do this test in a little while, but it's if you're outside, some people like to use the auto. I'm pretty keen on doing on using these chaps. I'm pretty keen on these. Well, just that one really. And that me and this guy, we sort of hang out, and I do use it a lot, and it really does make me feel very comfortable that this 18% grey, especially once you get inside, there's so many different colours flying at you. It gives you a great reset. I'll show you shortly once I've got the other buttons kitted out. Okay, so we'll keep going. And we're at the top. Movie shooting. Now I'm still kind of deciding, do I have both? I can subscribe the shutter button to movie mode, the freeze up button. For now, that's movie shooting, and this custom one, I make this the picture profiles, which, like I said, they are a science. They're a science of themselves. It's just in their own. It's funny how they're just hidden in color and tone. Picture profile. I mean, it's a massive science that people have spent huge parts of their lives exploring. And I love you for it. Thank you. I've got some great little tips out of you guys, which I've then and then I have decided to just go back to basics, so you'll explain why. So nearly there. Last one. Well, I don't really hold this camera. I don't really hold this camera here. I don't really hold onto this button enough to get close enough to it. So I never assign. But yeah, you can assign the button if you have G Masters. That is the thing you can do. Next thing we're going to look at is these function menu buttons. And that's right here. So the top is photography. We're not doing that today. And I like to set up the ones in the middle because I think it defaults there. Every little click is one thing to make it more complicated. So I'm going to set this one to display option gamma display assist. That's important to me. Sometimes I jump into log C and you need that. So to have that really close by, just like press the button, there it is. The other thing I like to set then is the shooting mode, which I explained to you. There's another video on it, which is about how to. I only really use it for that, like internal ND hack, which is a good reason. But I have that there. And then peaking, I like to add to here and get my peaking up because it's a great way to peaking color, peaking level. Which one is it? Peaking display, peaking color. So now I've got, so if I hit that button, peaking off, peaking on, and we'll check that in a minute. Maybe we'll check that now. Okay, so that's looking atrocious. What number is that? So that's picture profile off. Let's just jump to picture profile 11, which is the acetone. And again, just quickly show you this. So my 18% grey, and you know, again, it's all really quick. So I know where my metering is. My bang is going to go down to it. That's the auto. But let's just see what happens when we set it. So there's a difference. There's what I just set, and there's auto. I probably think that's kind of a little too red. I'm happy with that. So definitely hold on to these. So we've got here now. Unfortunately, the monitor that you're looking at doesn't show peaking, but it is there. I promise you. So once you punch in here on your 4K, remember I've now got center fix my focus area. I've got my so if I was touching the screen, that wouldn't be happening anymore. An AFC manual, but I'm just going to now punch and see how I'm getting with my focus, and that's pretty cool. It's great to see it so close up. And we've just had a good look at the white balance. A couple more things we'd like to have done here. We'll back up. So image quality, I shoot on AVCS 4K, and I make sure that I'm shooting at 10-bit. I'm shooting at 50 frames a second. Also, I'm using proxies. Proxies are your friends. This camera was made to make proxies. So if you're shooting at 50 frames a second and you try and make proxies in Premiere, you can end up just creating a real rod for your own back, trying to get them to, because it doesn't export. You have to make your settings. I've done it. Teeth. You don't want to do that. This will do it for you, and it will make proxies at 50 frames a second, and it will just automatically see them. It's a joy. It's just you want to speak. You want more time. Live to work, not the other way around. So just more time, and then you can go and do whatever makes you happy, because you weren't sitting there or even trying to attach proxies and watching your day rate halve and then half again. Bad times. So use those. I use them really. I don't use ASP. The only time you'll use this, okay, APS, is if you're shooting in HD. So, and the only time you'll do that is if you were putting on a lens. This is obviously a full frame, an APS-C lens. So you'd normally have these black vignetting. You have to use APS-C because it's the only way you can keep your tracking. Otherwise, you don't get tracking. You can't do your focusing. So I don't use the optical zoom. Some people do, but I don't. I walk forward. If you do have to put that lens on, then use it. But otherwise, you're shooting 4K, and you don't have that option anyway. Just going a little deeper. Yeah. So in my next tutorial, control with smartphone, I will show you how to use the Monitor Plus bit of software, which turns your old phone into a great monitor, touch sensitive. It's brilliant. It's brilliant, and it means you don't spend hundreds on a Ninja Shogun heavy thing with needing batteries and expensive cards. It's just lovely. Bluetooth works well. Is there lag? I don't know, like 3% of the time, but it's definitely not enough to just you just have this thing sitting there. It's super light. It's a really nice solution. Very, very important, right? You really want to be using your waves. Don't rely on your monitor. Everyone will tell you that. You want to see those lines there. Those will tell you everything. See, that's burning over bright. You could easily have your monitor set up wrong at the wrong time. But now you can really control your light. And unless you're just shooting in S-Log3 when arguably your 1.7 over stops over. And remember now we're using our locked off light meter to change. Anyway, you get me. You get me? So guys, thanks for watching. I hope there was some really useful stuff in there that between what you know already and what you've heard me talk about today gives you a real step forward into being even better at what you do, and keep pushing it, keep pushing yourself, keep pushing the boundaries. We're on this journey together. We may be separated by distance, physical distance, but actually we're doing this, we're working and doing the same thing. So I'm watching your videos as well, you're watching mine. Hopefully this was useful. Check out the ND hack. I think it's really useful as well. And yeah, great to be part of your journey as you are of mine. Stay awesome. Keep searching. Keep surprising yourselves. Keep trying hard. That's what we do. That's what inspires us. And I look forward to sharing all this and more with you again. If you like me and want to stay in touch, hit the like, subscribe as I do, and let's keep making the magic happen. Adios.